Today on the DML News Podcast, Donald J. Trump holds a town hall. A lot of interesting stuff goes on there. Elon Musk is about to say, see you later, alligator, but still going to be involved as much as he possibly can be in the Trump administration. And we're going to talk about why it is that people are suffering here in the United States. It's going to be an interesting show, so get ready because it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Morning. I am Dennis Michael Lynch. Sitting next to me is Denny. Sometimes he's here, sometimes he's not. Always filling orders for the buy one, get one free that just ended yesterday. And if you did miss it, we always give like a day or two. You can't go to the website and do it. But if you want to email our daughter, she's the one who will take care of you. Ashley, ASHLEY at DMLCBD.com. One more time, my daughter's email, Ashley, ASHLEY at DMLCBD.com. If you missed it, go to her, say, I missed it. I need some help. I couldn't order correctly. I wasn't sure what to get, whatever it may be. The next 2 days, today and tomorrow, we will honor the buy one, get one free. After that, it's over, and we won't have another one until July. That said, this is always inspired. We'll use the word inspired. This program is always inspired by the 47 Report. That's a newsletter we put out every day, Monday to Friday. As I have told you a million times before, our open rate is unbelievable. 3 times the amount of open rates of other newsletters of the kind. And that's because we deliver the news every single day. A lot of the stuff you'll never get anywhere else. All the positive information about the Trump administration, both Trump himself, his team, all the processes of this administration, the Congress. And then, of course, we have a section called the Resistance, because Lord knows it just can't be easy, just can't have America be great again. There's got to be the knuckleheads who get in the way. And so we mention that, so this way you know what's happening and why it is that maybe progress isn't being made as quickly as you would like. And by default, when you sign up for the 47 Report newsletter, by going to 47report.com, that's 47report.com, when you do that, you automatically get enrolled for the DML report. And I send that to you Monday through Friday, about 5, 6, 7 p.m. Last night was a little late because I was waiting for late breaking news to come in about how it is that Ukraine and the United States cut a minerals deal. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. What we're going to do now is we're going to start off, and I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce Ryan. Ryan's on the controls, sitting right across from me. I forgot about him. I don't know what's going on, buddy. You're not making a big impact these days. Ever since you beat me on the golf course. It's a fake win, by the way. But we're going to start off with Elon Musk. It was about 2 years ago. I wrote an op-ed. It was for the DML News app, which you should also download if you haven't already. I think that's my third commercial now in 3 minutes. But I wrote an op-ed, and I said, the future relies on one man. And it was Elon Musk. This was before Elon Musk became the superstar he is today. I mean, he is as famous as he is rich. But back in those days, 2 years ago, he was just downright rich. And he was a phenomenon. People were like, who is this guy? What did he do? And most people didn't know he was a co-founder of PayPal. I mean, most Americans have a PayPal account or use it, right? Nobody knew Elon Musk was the guy who did that. Tesla, SpaceX, now he's got X. He's got XAI. In fact, I just got invited yesterday for a private offering. A guy I know is a wealth manager. I don't have an account with him or anything like that, but he knows that I'm big into this space. And apparently X and AI have merged, and they are raising lots of money. And the valuation on the combined company of X, formerly known as Twitter, and the XAI, that's Elon Musk's AI lab, the combined valuation of that company right now is $113 billion. That's with a B, billion dollars. And so they are raising a round of capital, which allows the people who work at those companies to take a little money off the table. It's a way of selling some shares. Then they're going to, as it was reported on CNBC, in the next few months after they do this round, they are going to raise more money at, I believe it's $150 billion valuation. So if I were to get in today, I would get in at the $113 billion valuation. And the thought is that, hey, they're going to raise money at 150, 180 billion. And eventually what's going to happen is Elon Musk is going to take this company public. And he is going to make an absolute fortune again. I don't know if I'm going to get into it or not. I might. To be quite honest, it's a little heavy in terms of how much money. I may pull it together with a bunch of friends and see if we want to all go in. May even just invite my kids if they want to put a couple bucks in and just throw away money and see whether or not it's one of those things we want to try out. But I was invited to the dance, and I'm happy to do that. But I want to speak about Elon Musk here because in that op-ed that I did 2 years ago, I had highlighted how many spectacular businesses this man has created. Now, I used to believe that Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple and also Pixar, I used to believe that he was the greatest entrepreneur of all time, but Steve Jobs is no Elon Musk. Elon Musk has created companies that just transform everything. I mean, now Neuralinks. We just did our third, I think it was a third story about a third person, right? Dennis is shaking his head, yes. A third person now who has the inability to walk is now starting the process of maybe being able to walk. Is that what it is?
Talk.
Talk.
Yeah. Wasn't able to talk with their ALS and now can verbally speak.
ALS, which is an absolute death sentence. So this man is changing the world. And the op-ed that I had wrote was about elections. And I wrote it 2 years ago, or actually, I think I wrote it maybe 4 years ago. Wow, is it that far gone? I wrote it after we had lost the election. And we had lost the election because there was cheating, as far as I'm concerned. And I said, until we have a system that we can trust when it comes to voting, this country is never going to get back to normal. Everybody's always going to question whether or not there was authenticity in an election. And if you don't trust that your vote is worth something, then you lose all faith. You lose all faith. You're just going through the motions. I said, there's one guy who would be able to do this. And that one guy is Elon Musk. And he would be able to do it quickly, and he would be able to do it efficiently, and it would be just nirvana. Well, for the GOP anyway, for people who want honesty. The Democrats would never allow it to happen because the Democrats need to cheat in order to win. And I think I was spot on correct. One of the things that I have been complimented, and yes, I will break my arm patting myself in the back here. I am always able to see things before they happen, with the exception of the lotto numbers. And I've known all along that Elon Musk was the secret weapon to help this country find its way back. And Donald J. Trump recognized that, albeit later than I did, and he brought him in for Doge. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Doge did a really, really good job. It could have done a much better job if it had gone at things maybe a little bit slower. But you have to understand something about Elon Musk, and I can relate to this 100%. I think Trump can too. When you're an entrepreneur, you want to boil the ocean, and you believe you can do it, and you believe you could do it faster than anybody tells you that you can. And the problem being is that sometimes entrepreneurs get a little ahead of themselves, and they start to run before they jog, and they start to jog before they walk. And what happened with Doge, and I think this was probably a strategy of two entrepreneurs, Trump and Elon Musk, coming together. What happened with Doge is they had a concept. It was a concept that has been talked about for decades. And that concept is rid of government waste, government fraud, and government abuse when it comes to our financials, when it comes to our taxpayer money. And everybody's always talked about it. I mean, Rand Paul's got to be, one of the most verbal persons on this about how we have to lower this and lower that and all this other different stuff. Well, Rand Paul is just like the rest of them. He's just a bunch of hot air. He also told us that he was going to make sure he was going to go after Anthony Fauci. Where's that happening? You don't see anything going on with that, right? He's just a bag of hot air. But Trump and Elon Musk did something that had never been done before. They went beyond talking. They walked the walk. And so they went into Washington, D.C. like a wrecking ball. And nobody was ready for this. Washington, D.C. wasn't ready for it. In many cases, the Trump administration wasn't ready for it. And the media definitely wasn't ready for it. And it was a whirlwind. And I'll admit, writing the 47 report with Dennis, especially early on when the Trump administration just started, and trying to report on it here in the podcast, it was impossible to do. Because as you wrote 5 or 6 different entries about, well, Doge just found this, Doge is going to do that, we just found this at USAID, blah, 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 blah. Every time you did it, something changed within 15 minutes. They were either finding another problem or they were saying, well, wait a second, that number turns out to be a little different. And it was like, wow, this is hard to report on. And if it's hard to report on, imagine how hard it was to live through if you were somebody in those agencies in Washington, D.C., what have you. Now, because the judges who want Trump to be brought to his knees are interfering with everything that Doge did, what happened is that we thought we were going to save ourselves $2 trillion, then $1 trillion. Now it's into the billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. We just don't know, because when you are taking a ship as big as the U.S. government and you are trying to take it down to a dinghy, you have got to have some systems in place. You have got to have some controls in place. And if there was one criticism I have, is that Doge operated out of control, or at least it appeared that way. But nobody said anything on our end because we were just like, finally, I knew they were cheating us on Social Security. Finally, I knew they were giving away too much money overseas. Finally, I knew they were giving money to this old trans this and trans that stuff. Good. Bring that stuff to its knees. Well, the problem is that there are procedures that have been put in place. Sometimes those procedures are a pain in the ass, and sometimes they protect your ass. And in this particular case, because we went so quick, the courts and the Democrats found a little loophole here or a little rule here that Doge skipped over because it said, oh, this is ridiculous. We don't need to go through that kind of paperwork and all that kind of stuff. Why is that? This is more red tape. Let's just get to the point. Well, problem is that you weren't allowed to get to the point without making sure you crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, unfortunately. And that's big government for you. So Doge, as far as I'm concerned, was very effective in its ability to highlight the fraud, the abuse, and the waste. I don't know how great it actually was in ending it and getting us our money back, because now Trump, in many cases, may have to reinstall or reignite some of those things that were brought down to its knees. He's rehiring some of these people who were fired. And so these things are going to flesh themselves out as time goes by. But I bring it back to Elon Musk. The man is an incredible talent. And the shame of it is, if we could have Elon Musk in the Trump administration full time, we would actually get what I wrote about 4 years ago. We would get a new election system. We would get new systems for everything. We would wind up having so many things hum in this country to where it would be literally impossible for the courts and for the Democrats to be able to stop it. Because what Elon Musk would do is he would figure out, okay, here's our problem and here's the solution. And to get from A to B, we have to go through hell. And hell is the judiciary and the Democrats. But we're going to get there. And I'm going to be able to write a software. I'm going to be able to write a process, or I'm going to be able to use AI. And we're going to get there. And we're going to get there so efficiently. I mean, I'm going to write a script and it's going to say, I need to get to A. I mean, I need to go from A to B to solve this problem in Social Security. And I need to make sure that I do it without any judge being able to stop me, without Democrats being able to pull up some crazy law that's off to the side. How do I do it? Make sure I don't make any mistakes. AI is going to spit out the way of getting there. You could follow the steps. Maybe it takes a year and a half, and boom, Social Security is fixed. Boom, food stamps is fixed. Boom, we're never sending another dollar to some kind of freaking foreign country that's going to start transgender school. Boom, and it would be one after the next, after the next, after the next. But that's not the way Trump set it up. That's not the way Elon Musk set it up. And at the end of the day, Elon Musk has a fiduciary responsibility to Tesla and SpaceX and X and XAI. I mean, here I am. I'm telling you the inside scoop. They're raising money right now to get some money back in these people's pockets. So there's a fiduciary responsibility. And so he needs to leave. He needs to go back to where he started from. We're losing, as far as I'm concerned, we're losing our shortstop. If Trump is the pitcher, okay, and the American people are the catcher, our shortstop is Elon Musk, and we're losing our shortstop. Here is Elon Musk yesterday at the White House talking about his time at Doge and the fact that he is moving on. Let's play the video.
You know, the American people voted for secure borders, safe cities, and sensible spending. And that's what they've gotten. A tremendous amount has been accomplished in the first 100 days. As everyone has said, it's more than has been accomplished in any administration before, ever, period. This portends very well for what will happen for the rest of the administration. I think this could be the greatest administration since the founding of the country.
Well, we all want to thank you for your help. You really have sacrificed a lot. Been treated very unfairly.
Well, they do like to rent my cars, which is not great. You know, could be better.
But you have been treated unfairly. But the vast majority of people in this country really respect and appreciate you, and this whole room can say that very strongly. You've really been a tremendous help. You opened up a lot of eyes as to what could be done. And we just want to thank you very much. And, you know, you're invited to stay as long as you want. At some point, I guess he wants to get back home to his cars and his. He's done an incredible job. $150 billion. Think of that.
Yeah. It's 160 now.
Yeah, 160. They said, "Oh, it could be more." And a lot of stuff is being worked on. That number could be doubled and even tripled. A lot of things are being worked on that we don't count yet because it's not quite there. But
yes.
You've done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it very much, Elon. You know,
thank you. It's also an honor to work with your incredible cabinet. I just like to say thank you, everyone. It's great to work with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Your take on him, Dennis?
Yeah, I think in a way Trump is losing a little bit of his golden star because, I mean, when you look at that cabinet meeting, right, I mean, I love the fact that we've gone from Biden cabinet meetings, which you had once a year hosted by Dr. Jill, to they basically have it almost every 2 weeks. And it's a great team for the most part. But when you look at everyone and you look at how Trump almost talks and approaches Elon Musk, I think out of everybody there, he has the most deep admiration for him because, it's a fellow businessman. It's a non-politician. It's a guy that, almost like Trump, came into a role that he didn't have to do, but he did it because he wants to fix the trajectory of the country. So even though Doge's original goal, I know, was $2 trillion, I mean, from what they're at least trying to get at, with the one, I think it's $160 billion, Musk definitely assembled a really good Doge team that'll still carry on even with him going back to Tesla and SpaceX. And you can't blame him, right? I mean, he says it in the video there. I mean, they're setting his cars on fire. It was only so long ago when people, leftists, were all the rage about, I just got my Tesla, I just got my Model S, and now it's, they're spitting on cars, they're throwing Molotovs at them, they're scratching them up with keys. So it's clearly a shift in the deranged mindset of the leftists. But rather than Musk, backing away and taking the cheap man's route. He's held strong. He's really just going back because he wants to save his company from the pitfalls. Whereas you get like a Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, they kind of squander with that kind of stuff. So, I'm sure Trump. I mean, he even says it right there. He's like, I'll keep you on as long as you want." I'm sure out of everyone in that cabinet, he would love to hold on to Elon for as much as he could, just because he's so efficient at what he was doing. And he doesn't take BS either. You get those reports that he had a bit of a quarrel with Marco Rubio or Scott Besson. And it's not because he's trying to be antagonistic. It's because he's trying to point out, hey, this is fraudulent. Hey, this is a waste. Why don't we cut it? Why don't we try to slash it so we can use it for better allocation?
I'm glad you brought that up there as the last point, because when you're an entrepreneur, you're driven by passion. That a lot of times, unfortunately, and I'm sure a lot of people here who are currently in a job, or people who are retired listening to this, they will say that, no, I don't love my job. My job is a job. I do it because I make money, and I got to earn money in order to pay my bills. If I could do my life over again, I would have been more passionate about my work. An entrepreneur is very, very, very passionate. If you don't have passion, your job is going to be extinct. You are the manager of your own job, and you are going to lose your job if you're not passionate about your work. And I've said it to you, to Ryan. I've said it to you and Ryan many times before. I said, if you do not have a passion and a desire to do what it is we're doing and to do what you're doing, you need to go do something else, because when you look back in life, you're going to resent it. I use that example there because when Elon Musk is launching a SpaceX, he's passionate about getting to Mars. Right now, we're going up and we're saving astronauts and we're launching rockets into the, he wants to get to Mars. He's got a passion, a burning sensation to do that. When he's talking about Tesla cars, he's creating these cars because he knows that they could be more efficient. He knows that we don't have to have the amount of car accidents we're having out there. And he's got a passion for it. When it's X, he's got a passion for free speech. If you take the passion out of an entrepreneur, you take the entrepreneur out of the man. And so when you're in there with a Marco Rubio, who's been in, Congress now and now the White House, he's been in there for what, 20 years? So he's robotic. He's a politician. And so he understands the red tape and how things work. And when Elon Musk goes in there, he says, this doesn't make any sense. We need to go right through that glass door right now. Let's just break that down. There's no reason for that door to be there. I could see through it. It's blocking me. We need to smash through it. And Rubio's like, we can't do that. And so that's where you get the clash. I don't think it's because Elon Musk is a bad guy.
No.
It's because he just knows that we're not running efficiently as a nation.
Overall, I think the biggest takeaway here, kind of like we said it in a podcast not too long ago. Remember how we said when it comes to this tariff strategy, we can't imagine anyone else but Trump being able to, being the person who lays down the hammer on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who else would have came in to establish the DOGE and actually target the fraud, because even if there are stuff that can't get cut, right, because some judge throws up an injunction, I'll say it at least personally, what they've been able to spotlight in terms of what we're wasting money on can never be undone. Now I know what we're wasting money on. And the fact that we've had Republicans in Congress for years that knew this and now are just kind of, mostly pretending to be on board of like, oh, wow, we've been doing that. Like, you would know that. You were on that committee that approved those funds. How would you not? Right. You're just, being caught red-handed, and obviously Democrats too. So I think what Musk has been able to do here is take that giant spotlight and be like, you thought it was bad? You have no idea. This is what we've really been spending this money on. This is who's been getting, I mean, the Social Security, right? The amount of dead people that have been collecting checks, or non-existent people.
Illegal aliens.
Illegal aliens. So what he's been able to do is, the cat's out of the bag. You can't put it in, especially in the era of the internet. We know what our Congress, what our government has been capable of doing with the wasteful spending. And, going forward, and again, Musk is out, but Doge is still in there. The people he's assembled are going to be in there for quite a bit. So the cat's out of the bag in the sense that we know what they're capable of. Now the question is, how do we make sure we keep that accountability, that we're not sending $50 million in condoms to some random Mozambique or country in Africa.
It's funny when you look at. I go back to entrepreneurship and building a business. Usually, what winds up happening is when you're going to build a business and you're an entrepreneur, you're looking at a problem and you're saying, "This is how I can solve that problem," and it could be anything. I mean, I'll give you an example. You could be talking about bagels, right? We talk about all the time about how there were no good bagels in Florida compared to New York. And there's a guy who opened up a bagel shop here where we live. And he's a guy from the East Coast. And he brought down his recipe. He brought down all the things you would need to make a good New York bagel down here in Florida. He saw a problem and he solved it, right? That's what entrepreneurship is by and large. And it's same thing. I see that we have a problem. We're not going to be able to have enough gasoline for cars in 30 years from now. We've got to start doing something with electric vehicles. And so Elon Musk saw that, and then there you go. The problem I have, okay, is that unlike Tesla, unlike SpaceX, unlike PayPal, Elon Musk identified the problems. He showed us the problem. We knew that they were there, but we couldn't prove it because we didn't have access. He proved the problem is there. But the problem now is that he's not sticking around long enough to solve it. Now, to your point, the Doge team is in there, and we've got a lot of Gen Zs who know all their algorithms. Again, but without him being the figurehead, it may be a little bit difficult to get the solution put into place. And I'm hoping, I go back to what I said about with Trump, and this is a good segue into our next part. I go back on what I said yesterday's show. I don't know if you listened to it or not, Dennis, while you're doing the orders, but I was talking about how Trump and the team were making a huge promise at the beginning that the alternative media would be the lion in the room instead of the lamb, right? And I still don't feel like that's been done. It was like a great idea that never got fully executed. And my concern is that out of sight, out of mind, if Elon Musk isn't there, we know we've got all these problems. We know they need to be solved. But without a front man or a front woman who has incredible media savvy in terms of they are going to always shine a camera on you if you got something to say. When we lose Musk, I'm concerned that this may be a flame that slowly dies out and then just looks like a little tiny candle. And that's the risk we take with Elon Musk going away. Your thought?
So I do want to clarify. So apparently the White House has been doing this, but this just proves your point that they're not doing it enough. Like last night, Caroline Leavitt, they've been having these new media briefings. So like Jack Pacipiak, CJ Pearson, a lot of those guys were present, and even that guy, Dom Luker, and they were asking her questions. But the thing is, like they're having these briefings, and I'm even looking at the pictures, and the whole point is messaging. Why not have more of those guys in the actual press briefing?
Exactly.
So, it's nice that you're given the bone, but again, like unless people are actively looking for it, and it's just with Caroline Leavitt. I mean, I would love it where, they would have the press briefing with at least half of that room filled with the new alternative media. And then that way they could be asking when Scott Bessent is there or Marco Rubio is there or someone else from the administration. So, I mean, it may seem like a big ask because I know traditional media has been for forever, but at the same time, and maybe it was thankful I wasn't on the show yesterday, the fact that Trump would give the time to Terry Moron from ABC is proof that he loves the challenge, but we're past it at this point, right? I mean, that guy is such a punchable face, and the way he treated Trump throughout that interview was disgusting. In fact, in the beginning of the interview, Trump had him in the Oval Office to show what he's done with the Oval Office, and which really includes all the new portraits that he's put up of presidents. And Trump has such an admiration for history in that regard. I mean, he's talking about like why he placed the president which way, and he wanted to highlight some more lower key presidents that don't get highlighted. And you think like, the interviewer there would maybe have some admiration, like, oh, maybe this is a really a good guy who just means to lead well. But no, he goes into the usual bait tactics. So something like this, the new media briefing apparently was their third one last night. It's got to be more at the forefront so we can see these guys in the actual press briefing room and just kind of giving the indication, okay, MSNBC, ABC News, PBS, you guys are on the back burner now. Let's bring the actual voices who represent more of the citizenry in America.
Yeah, I mean, I bring up two things that you just comment on. Two things you brought up there. Having these little side gigs with some of the, I guess you would say the younger Jack Posobiec is a younger guy.
Well, more unconventional.
Yeah, unconventional alternative media. To have these little side gigs, it's nice and all, and maybe there will be some viral aspect to it. But I position it like this. Don't make your time with alternative media like the pregame or the postgame show of the Super Bowl. Yeah, you're going to get some ratings, but everybody's tuning in for the Super Bowl. Make it the Super Bowl. If you're going to have Jack and you're going to have these other media people, even if it was somebody like us, although I'm not going to Washington, D.C. anytime soon, but, have us in the press room. Look, our old friend who used to be on the show here with us, Alec Lace. They've invited Alec Lace to go a couple of times to the White House. Don't invite him periodically. Give the guy a reason to move down to Washington, D.C.
I would love to see Alec Lace in that room every day.
Yeah, let Alec Lace be in there in that room every single day, front row, second row. Why do we have to keep it the same way, the traditional ABC, NBC, CBS? And then, you talk, then you move to the interview with Terry Moran. I mean, I don't want to beat the dead horse with this because we talked about it a lot yesterday. But to your point, here's Trump being congenial, being, hey, let's be Switzerland. I know you're from the left, I'm from the right, but at the end of the day, this is the White House and this is the Oval Office. It's all of our Oval Office. And here's the history and here's everything else. Bill Maher, far left Bill Maher from HBO, when he went and had dinner with Trump, he went back on his show and said, I got to tell you something. I wasn't expecting a very congenial guy. I wasn't expecting a guy who was willing to have an open conversation with me. If my Democrats don't like this, I don't know what to tell you. Don't watch my show. This is not a bad man. And so Moran couldn't do that. Moran had an objective that was given to him by the leaders at ABC. Drown Trump.
Right. It's antagonistic. In fact, he was so purposely misleading. And I know I messaged it in the live chat yesterday, but in case people didn't read it, he was trying to trip up Trump with the whole tattoo on the knuckles thing. And I didn't include the clip just because we didn't have time. But there was a hearing yesterday, and Lindsey Graham had asked like a DEA agent about the tattoos. And he said, like, with the symbols that are not photoshopped, Terry Moron, the symbols that he has, is that an association for MS-13? And the guy said, yes. And then Lindsey Graham, I don't like him, but I'll give him credit. He said, do you know of any other association those symbols would represent? And the guy said, in my entire career, no. So what Terry tried doing was trying to trip up Trump, saying MS-13 wasn't explicitly written on the knuckles, when in actuality, there were tattoos on the knuckles. It was just symbolism to the actual cartel gang. So, something that is so inauthentic from the mainstream media giant that's ABC News, in my opinion, kind of like what they did with the AP, get them out of the press briefing room. They shouldn't be in there if they're going to do these misleading tactics. We're so past 2016 at this stage. Why are we, I'm sure Trump after that interview said like, wow, what a waste of time giving that guy the press. I shouldn't give him any more time to ABC.
Well, you know what? I mean, look, let's get to the next thing here. I mean, Trump just had a town hall style meeting, right? Last night. And, it's not like he took Tucker Carlson, Dennis Michael Lynch, and Steve Bannon, from three different aspects of the media. He went with Steve Smith, who is thinking about running for president as a Democrat. ESPN, Bill O'Reilly, who, as far as I'm concerned, is as has been can be, and Chris Cuomo, a freaking
because I guess technically it's a News Nation town hall.
Yeah, News Nation town hall. But look at who we're styling with. We're styling with a Democrat who's thinking about running for president, a guy who nobody ever hears from anymore, and Chris Cuomo, somebody who's basically faking it. I mean, this is a CNN dude who got canned and was picked up by some who knows News Nation place. And this is where Trump's going to give his time. All right, so be it. We'll play the clips because that's what our job is. Here's the 45-second clip Denny picked out. Here's the town hall last night. Let's play.
Do you have a commitment for the American people in terms of how much you will protect those programs?
We're not doing anything with entitlements. And if you look at Social Security, and by the way, I think I'm better to say this than anybody because I did nothing with entitlements that would hurt people for 4 years. I could have done that. If I was going to do that, I would have done it 5 years ago, 6 years ago, or 7 years ago. I'm not doing anything. The only thing is, you say don't talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. There is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. There are a lot of illegal aliens that are getting Medicaid that shouldn't be getting it. And nobody objects to taking people off Medicaid that aren't allowed to be there. But we are doing absolutely nothing to hurt Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security. Nothing at all.
Look, it's a left talking point that Trump is going to strip Social Security from old people. He's going to strip health care from disabled people. And he's just going to help all of his rich friends when it comes to taxes. None of this stuff has ever been in place. None of this stuff has ever happened. Nobody has not gotten their check or their access. The left just needs to come up with these talking points. And here's Chris Cuomo. Are you going to promise? How many times have we heard Trump say, I'm not touching it?
It's like a broken record.
It's a broken record. Why are we moving forward? Why isn't Chris Cuomo saying, explain to me exactly how it is that a district judge can stop you from deporting illegal alien terrorists in this country, Mr. President? Let's talk about that, because nobody could understand, including yours truly, how it is that some freaking district court judge who spends most of their day saying, okay, pay $50 for that, blow in the stop sign and move on. How it is that that district court judge can tell the president of the United States that you cannot deport a terrorist. Why aren't we asking those questions and getting those specific answers on how it is that and why that is happening? Why don't we get specific answers on the fact that tariffs haven't even been put in place yet? Trump's killing everybody with the tariffs. What are you talking about? It's all talk so far. It's all negotiations. Nobody's been hit with a tariff yet. It doesn't make any sense. We've got another clip here about tariffs, do we not?
Yeah, it's Trump. He kind of goes with the business rhetoric of how you have to find some means of flexibility, because if you go too hardline, that's when the issues happen. Because as kind of like we've stated before, it's that transition of we've been so reliant on other countries for our economy, for our production. We want to build back America and make it better. That requires a transition. So this is a clip from last night.
Well, the problem is Chris, is I have to be flexible, because as you do things in life and in business, you need flexibility. You can't just be hard line and I'm going to run right through a wall and I'm never going to go over it or around it. I'm going to go straight. You have to be able to dodge and move and be flexible, and especially in business. Now, with the cars, I'm getting a 25% tariff for the people. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars, but they're hurt because they can't switch over 100% of the content of the car within a very short period of time. So they came to see me. I understood their problem, and I gave them a period of a year where I brought it down, and then another year. So I gave them a short period, 2 years, where they have to be switched over 100%, where every single part in the car is made in the USA. Now, if I didn't do that, it would have been very, very tough for them. And so what I am is flexible. And if I didn't do that, it would be very tough for these companies. And these companies, it's a transition period, Chris. And transition's an important word, because as you do things, you'll say, well, it's like being on the battlefield. You're on the battlefield. Sometimes you're going to move to the left flank, but then you end up moving to the right flank. And it's very much like that in business. And frankly, it's very much like that in life.
Yeah, so I know last night there was the bill on tariffs, and I think J.D. Vance had to be called in to cast the tie-breaking vote, because good old Rand Paul voted against it.
Yeah, I mean, so Rand Paul is trying to position the tariffs as a tax. and it's not a tax. I go back to I go back to entrepreneurship. I really do. There are different phases of entrepreneurship, and there's the one phase which is the idea phase, right? You sit down. It's the three of us, right? Let's even just take an existing business we have. We got our DML CBD. So we sit down and we say, okay, look, we've been doing okay, but some of our customers are aging out. We're going to need a new line of customers. What kind of product should we make that will attract youngsters? And so that is the planning stage, right? Trump's tariffs are the planning stage of the conversation that says, how do we bring back manufacturing to the United States of America? How do we make it so this way every single time I'm in my house and I look at the bottom of the coffee cup, it doesn't say made in China? How do I take a light bulb and screw it in and not have to see that it was made in Indonesia? We need to bring back manufacturing so this way we get jobs back in the United States of America. So this way we can make it so this way the towns that have weeds growing up through the asphalt right now and the broken windows and all the manufacturing plants, let's get those lights turned back on. Let's get those roads paved again. Let's make it so this way America has the golden era. There has to be a way to do that. And the tariffs is one of those ways. We have had situations where people have been putting 100% tariffs on us. We haven't been giving them any reciprocal tariffs. Nobody has said a damn thing about it until Trump comes in. And somehow, some way, we're now the bad people. What are you talking about? Rand Paul is a specialist when it comes to eyes. He's an eye doctor. He doesn't understand business. He doesn't understand the economies. He just understands what his father used to want. We need to lower the cost. We need to lower the cost. We need to lower the fraud. We need to lower the waste. We get it. But all you've been doing is talking about it, sir. This man is trying to do something with it. And so here he is voting against it. It's absolutely asinine. It's absolutely asinine. It is par for the course, and this is why things can't get done. I would call upon anybody listening to this program, when it comes time for Rand Paul to run for office again, that somebody finds somebody a primary against him. His time has run its course. He needs to go. Now, with that being said, we have one more clip here.
I want to say, and Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins too, which ironically I think they're the longest Republican serving senators.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So
both of them.
Clearly, we need a little bit of a shift in who we have in the GOP. And then this kind of relates. So in our last clip, I think Ryan took two and combined them together. Trump had a Investing in America event yesterday. Again, just another highlight for the 100 days about bringing all these countries back to the U.S. because there's no doubt his overall goal besides securing free trade, fair trade, and cleaning up the border. I think he wants America to actually be the shining beacon of not only hope but of actually a built-up nation. It would be nice if we could actually make things. So, Ryan,
and after this clip, I'm going to give some interesting information to people that they're going to be astonished by. Go ahead.
The entire Trump economic agenda is about making it easier to do business in America, to create jobs in America, to hire American workers, and to build your factories here in America, not in China or any other country. We cut your taxes from almost 40% down to 21%. Now we're bringing your taxes down from 21% to 15% if you build your product, make your product in the USA. So if you make it in the USA, those chips, those beautiful chips, we'll make those suckers in the USA, and you're going to be all the way down to 15%. And I think there's never been anything like it. So now we're at the lowest scale for a large country, by far the lowest scale.
That's what we need. I mean, when you lower the tax rate, remember we talked about, it wasn't more than a week or 2 weeks ago that the Trump administration was talking about lifting the corporate tax rate and lifting the rates on entrepreneurs and people who are doing really well. I mean, that is a ticket for disaster. So now I'm hearing him talk again, like he did when he was on the stump, about lowering the corporate tax rate. I think we need to remember this. When the 2017 tax breaks were being introduced, the economy, and I talked about this earlier in the week, The economists, the experts, the media, all the idiots. I group them in as idiots. They all said that the economy was going to crash, that these big companies were going to take those tax breaks, put it into their own pocket, give out bonuses, do stock buybacks. Just the opposite happened. What wound up happening was raises were given, new jobs were created, more products and services were bought and sold, and we wound up doubling our tax revenue as a nation because more people were contributing. Okay. So you lower it again, you're going to see things skyrocket. I mean, I sat down with my retirement planning guy yesterday, and I said to him, how much does it cost me to borrow against my own money, right? Because I got some CDs, and we're thinking about buying a place. We keep on having to move our warehouse after time and time again because our leases go off. I said, maybe I should just buy a place. So I asked him, I said, how much does it cost me to borrow against my own money? And he started going down the whole thing. And I said, man, it's just too much. He says, Dennis, let Trump and this administration have a little bit more time under their belt. You're going to see those rates drop down. And when they do, people are going to be borrowing like crazy. You're going to be able to go do it. If you could stretch it out a little bit, try to stretch it out. I want to read something that was sent to me before the show here from one of our readers. And then I'm going to give some stats. So I'm going to take the microphone here for a couple minutes. This is from a longtime Team DML member, Brandy Plunkett. You know that name, right? Brandy writes to me, good morning, DML. I agree with you about Trump needing to focus more on the economy. That's what I said in yesterday's show. Trump is seeing the boom of the future. However, the current situation in manufacturing is dire. I live in a manufacturing town. Layoffs, hiring freezes, company spending freezes. It's all there. Family and friends work for different companies, and it's the same for all of them. Wood, metal, plastic, and cardboard companies are barely hanging on. Yes, Trump is going to build this economy, and yes, he is bringing in manufacturing for the future. However, people are scared now. People are losing jobs now. Businesses are closing now. I blame Biden. Under Trump's first administration, businesses were booming. My husband made more money than he ever had. So I trust my vote. I know Trump will turn this economy around in time. The problem is what is being lost now. Biden's policies devastated manufacturing. Those companies that are barely hanging on need help now. As always, praying for your family. Sincerely, Brandy. Brandy, here's something. I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. As a business owner, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'd love to see the Trump administration right now find the money. The money's there, right? They just talked about how $150 billion was saved. Take that $150 billion and send a check to every single American. Take some of the money that we're not squandering overseas anymore for stupid little transgender or whatever it is that they had floating around at these countries in Bangladesh. Take that money and give it out to the American people because it was our money to begin with. So if Brandy wants to see where people are going to get a little bit ignited, right? And if they're suffering through things right now, the only way to give that immediate is cut a check. Send a check out to people now. Get it out now. Make it a stimulus, if you will. Get it out now. Don't borrow from something else to pay out because it's only going to make it bad. Take the money we've saved or reallocate money that was supposed to go somewhere else overseas and allocate it to the American people. And what Trump should do is more executive orders to drop even more regulations and more red tape to try to start businesses. And that's what I'm going to read right now. I've got some interesting statistics, unless you want to add something, Dennis, before I take the microphone again here for a couple minutes.
Just breaking news out of the White House.
Go ahead.
National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and his deputy, Alex Wong, are officially resigning. Those are the guys that kind of caused the whole Signal Gate mishap from a few weeks back. But Alex Wong had an investigation done on him, and we don't have to go deep into it, but I'm happy he's gone is the best way to put it.
Of course. And so believe me when I tell you, there will be reasons why that happened will reveal itself in the next couple of days. But you know what the shame of this is, Dennis? This is where Trump made a mistake. He took people out of Congress.
Yeah, I was going to say, Waltz was a GOP in Congress.
We were holding on by a thread, and he took people out of Congress for positions. That's why Elise Stefanik from New York
backed out.
Was asked, do not become UN ambassador, because we need you to stay in Congress.
Mhm.
I wish Trump would have thought that out a little bit more. Here we go, taking a guy that was a good resource for us in Congress, and now he's gone. So
Mhm.
now we don't have him in the White House, and we don't have him in Congress. It's
Yep.
just like, look, I go back. Nobody walks on water. Everybody makes mistakes. Trump has made his mistakes. Hopefully he recovers from this one. I hope he doesn't replace him with somebody from Congress.
I doubt he will. At this point, they know that they got to keep it. And look, like I've said before, when Trump has to pick these people, some of them are personal picks and some of them are highly recommended. I'm sure Mike Waltz was like, "Oh, you need to have him." And when they don't prove good in those first 100 days or prove themselves to be very mistake heavy, such as having Deputy Alex Wong, who has a very checkered history, so to say, then you know what? Better now than later down the road. So get him out and get someone else in that's going to be better.
Well, keep in mind, too, there may be two reasons why this is happening. Number one is there may be more information to come out. There may be worse information about this signal stuff than we know. Or number two is Pete Hegseth is getting so much crap that maybe what he's going to try to do is deflect from Hegseth and put it on Walls.
Maybe. I don't know. I think a big thing was that, she's controversial, but she's good. When Laura Loomer went in weeks ago, and came to Trump with a list of, hey, these are the people who leaked to the media and who are actually kind of subversive to you. She had Alex Wong on that list, and he didn't fire him initially. So I'm sure there's something that they probably saw that said, okay, this guy is not meant to be here. Because maybe I don't know. From my impression, it seems Hegseth has been very loyal to the Trump administration,
Right.
whereas these two seem to keep causing kind of issues. So
Right, but at the end of the day, Hegseth has a bigger bullseye on his back.
Oh yeah,
And so what Trump may be trying to do is deflect off Hegseth and put onto Walls.
Yeah, of
But
course.
we'll see. But I want to get back to what we're talking about here with economy and why it is that so many people in these smaller towns and throughout the country seem to feel, and it's a right feeling, that the country can't hum. It's not humming like it was humming. Even when we had Trump in for the first term, and it was like the best stuff we had seen in the longest time. Like Brandy even said, he had made more money than ever before, but it was short-lived because Trump didn't get to stay in there. We put in fake Biden. Here we are again. These statistics that I'm about to read out to people are going to blow their mind. But understand something. Entrepreneurship and small businesses with less than 500 employees, are the bedrock of this country. It is the bedrock. The Googles, the Facebooks, the GMs, the GEs, the United Airlines, that's not the bedrock. The bedrock is Main Street, not Wall Street. Okay, not big business, not the Triangle or the Silicon Valley or anything. No, it's the mom and pop shops. It's the businesses like the ones we have. That is the crux of our country. Well, assuming you agree with me, here's why it is that America isn't what it used to be. Entrepreneurship in America started declining around 1978. New business formation dropped from 10% of firms in 1982 to 8% of 2018. Startups fell from 20% of total companies in 1980 to under 8% in 2012. New firm employment share decreased from 14% to 9% from 1982 to 2018, with job creation by new firms dropping from 3 million annually in the late 1970s to 2.34 million by 2010. And those numbers are still declining. So the point of that right there, and that's phase one, right? Phase one is we don't have entrepreneurship like we used to have entrepreneurship. Therefore, we have less jobs, we have less growth, and we're putting everything on these bigger companies, and they only have a certain amount of jobs to fill. And Lord knows they're getting it from freaking overseas labor, right? Go call American Express today about your bill. You're going to be sent to Indonesia. You're going to be sent to India. You're not dealing with some American, all right? But if you go into your local store, odds are you're going to be dealing with Peggy or Chris, two people from around the block. Now, to take this to the next level, because it all connects underneath that, from 1978, those are the numbers I started with. From 1978 to 2018, welfare participation in the U.S. rose. SNAP, which is food stamps alone, grew from 16 million people to 38 million. Medicaid increased from 21 million to 65 million. And the total welfare recipients climbed from 25 million to 70 million. So when you don't got good jobs in the United States, when you don't got entrepreneurship in the United States, when you're not developing new things in the United States, what happens? People can't find jobs. People can't work. And so they wound up going on the teat of America. And that's why they ultimately wound up voting Democrat. They vote Democrat, not because they want to, but because they think that they have to, because the Democrats have always been the party of free stuff. And that's why you take a good, hardworking person and you actually put them into a voter bloc that they never wanted to be a part of. One other statistic before you jump in. From 1978 to 2018, the U.S. cost of living has increased significantly. The Consumer Price Index, which is the CPI, rose from 65.2 in 1978 to 251 in 2018, an increase of 285%. This means that $1 in 1978 had the purchasing power of roughly almost $4 in 2018. You needed $4 today or in 2018 to buy something that was $1 yesterday. But yet the wage increase in the United States is nowhere near 265%. From 1978 to 2018, personal savings, the rate declined. The personal savings rate as a percentage of disposable income dropped from 8.9% in 1978 to 6.7% in 2018. So what does that mean? That means that when you've got these people who are retiring, they're going to have far less in their nest egg to be able to get through life. And this is where it's all broken down from. If you want to go back and say, what is it? How did this start? It's entrepreneurship. It is the ability to go out and be able to start a new business. And to do that today, the costs are crazy. The regulations are nuts. I'll give you a prime example. I talked about the bagel guy. Remember the bagel guy? We talked about the bagel guy earlier in the show about how he saw a problem. There weren't good bagels in Florida. He took a New York style bagel store. He put one down here where we are, and he thrives. Here's the craziest thing about it. His bagel store, you can't find it from the street. He took some so we have a hospital here. We're telling the story. It's pretty cool. We have a hospital here, and it has actually shrunk. It used to have like a little satellite building right across the parking lot. And part of that satellite building, they had a cafeteria. Well, the satellite building closed, but the cafeteria is still there. So what winds up happening is this guy, this bagel store owner, is at the town department of whatever it is, and he's trying to find out about getting a hood. You have to go through 9 months of an approval to get a new hood. And he said, wait a second, I can't pay rent for 9 months and hope that you give me approval on a new hood to make my bagels? What entrepreneur can do that? As he was having the conversation, the guy who owned that satellite building took him outside and said, by the way, man, I've got hoods already. I've got ovens already. They're shut down. I'll give you a 10-year lease for a fraction of what you'll pay at some of these other places with no increase. Guy said, I'll take it. He goes in, he starts it. He's got this great bagel store that he's had for a year. Now he's got it up for sale. He's going to make, because he's going to go and start another new bagel store with the money that he gets from the sale. The point being is those regulations, those 9 months of waiting on a hood stops people from opening up and starting. And this is where the red tape and the bureaucracy and the nonsense that I think Elon Musk and Trump should be addressing immediately. If they did, we would wind up seeing this new entrepreneurship boom in this country, and we'd be back to where we were in the 50s, 60s, and 70s when new shops and new businesses and new innovations were opening at lightning speed. Because the last part I'll put to this, Dennis, AI scares the hell out of me, although I am going to start to become the greatest expert in AI, just like I was in immigration. I am enthralled by AI. AI scares me, but on the other end, it just gives me hope and promise for tomorrow, because these shops, these entrepreneurial programs and businesses that we could start, AI is going to make it so much more powerful and profitable. We have to empower entrepreneurs of all ages, not just 20-year-olds. If you're a 65-year-old, I want you to start a new business. Until we do that here in the United States, we're done. Because Trump is not going to be the president forever. But businesses will be in business for 40, 50, 60 years. Last word goes to you. We have to say goodbye.
Yeah, no, I mean, Trump has taken as many steps as he possibly can. Even his most recent executive order with requiring English as your proficient language if you want to be a truck driver. I was just reading the report that you got a lot of foreign truck drivers who are now selling their trucks and trying to jump out of the industry. But the truth is, like, if you're going to be working in America, where, by the way, our Constitution was written in English, you should be proficient in it. I can't even tell you how many times, especially years back, actually, when we would have truck drivers come to the warehouse for our CBD deliveries. And I would try to communicate with these guys, and my Spanish is pretty limited, but it would be frustrating because I want to know, okay, is the cargo secure? Okay, what do I have to sign? And trying to interact or even trying to establish communication is brutal. So why is it that we have to go through these loopholes, which actually it was because of Obama. Obama struck down a safety law that required truck drivers to speak English. So Trump is reversing that because it does require safety, and it does require to be able to run a business and knowing if some guy's delivering your stuff, you're able to talk and to communicate with them. I mean, I'm sure everyone who's listening, to the program right now, whether it's a truck driver or customer service on the phone, or in some point in life where you're talking to a worker and English is not their language, and it's fine if it's their second language, but how many people are in this country who've been living here for 10, 15, 20 years and still do not know English? And that is baffling to me.
100%, big guy. All right, that's it for us. There is no show tomorrow, as we announced earlier in the week. We are in the process of leaving one warehouse and breaking down. So we gave you longer shows this week as a result of that. With God in the steering wheel, hopefully he brings us back to you here on Monday. Same time, 10 a.m. on Monday. Until then, may you enjoy your Friday and your weekend. May God bless you all, even to the ugly commenters on Facebook. There's always a few. That's why you have to go out and get a life. Until the next time, may God bless you, your family, the United States, President Trump, Vice President Vance, and Elon Musk.
And today's Team EML blessing goes out to Janet Rush.
Oh, I know Janet. Good New Yorker, a Russian immigrant.
Yes.
All right, Janet, run with it.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.